Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Fiesel, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, where truth matters. Thank you so much for finding us on television every day, Monday through Friday, from 1 to 3 p.m. Central, Channel 182 on Charter Communications. That's in North Alabama, and Abundant Television found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And don't forget the podcast on thenewscasters.com. Send emails, by the way. I love hearing from you. My email address is donna@donnasedge.com. That's Donna at donnasedge.com. So a number of you have been sending emails about what is a narcissist. Now, we've had a couple shows about that. And then also, Andrew wanted me to send one about the different types of narcissists. And Andrew, thank you so much, because I didn't know there were this many types of a narcissist. And you just think of a narcissist as being one person. But there are 8 different types, and I found this on family, that's a dash, not underscore, but family-institute.org. That's family-institute.org. And the author of this is Melissa Prusco, and she is a PSY doctor. And so she has written a book, and it's titled, Don't You Know Who I Am? How to Stay Sane in an Era of Narcissism, Entitlement, as well as several YouTube videos. Her channel is a real good source, by the way, of information. I've seen some of her work. According to her work, there are 8 different types of narcissists, and I'll go ahead and label those, and then we'll go on down and just kind of explain what they are. Grandiose, the covert, also vulnerable. The malignant, who is dark kind of dark personality. Communal, benign. Neglectful, entitled, self-righteous. And generational or cultural. And so what she says in this article is, I want to reiterate what I wrote in the first installment, was that, and that is that the label is less important than being able to recognize the patterns of behavior. So it's something and everybody's around a narcissist. I've been around, there's some in my family. Thank God for my husband. He's kind of helped me go through some of this weirdness. But there are different patterns of behavior, so that's why I've been doing a study on it for years. Now, further, these types exist over on a spectrum, and she's going to highlight what that spectrum might look like within that type of a narcissist. Additional to further highlight the general difference between confidence and pathological narcissism. So she's written a book. True confidence is a bit more restrained and quiet, and tends to be backed up with an accurate assessment of one's ability. And so let's go ahead and get started on what these are. It kind of makes things a little bit more clear as to why sometimes you can get drawn into someone's world, and it can be a train wreck, especially if this is a narcissist that you've been kind of drained into their world. The grandiose. Who is this person? It's also known as the classic or the stereotypical narcissist, and what we may think of when we use this term. So those individuals are typically described as arrogant, entitled, charming, grandiose, superficial, and vain. So this doctor describes these individuals as show-offs, overly confident, and frequently not accompanied with an accurate assessment of their abilities. They kind of braggadocious. They talk about things that they really can't do, but they make it sound grand scale. They tend to lack empathy, and they also lie a lot. And when these individuals are disappointed, they will exhibit rage. I have one that is kind of after me a lot. And so I was at an event, and she showed up. And I mean, embarrassed daylights out of me. And all I could do was just stand there. First of all, I couldn't believe it was happening, what she was doing and what she was saying. But it was different. And people will figure these people out. Now, sometimes it seems like it takes forever because they're so good at what they do. And they're lying at such a grand scale. And I'm hearing a lot of you guys are telling me about people you're associated with, where it could be a spouse or another family member, or it could be somebody at work. And, I've all of my bosses, none of my bosses have been narcissists. And I'm hearing you guys talk about some of your bosses are narcissists. That would be a tough thing to do because you're almost married to them when you see them at work every day. Now, I've worked with coworkers who are narcissists, but luckily I've always had the kind of jobs where I didn't have to hang out. I mean, I would always be, with a customer or something like that. So it was never really that big of a deal to me. Now, had it been my boss, I can see some of you guys what you talk about. I mean, I could see how that would be a really hard thing. Now, she goes on to say, we and others may find ourselves attracted to them and rather quickly because they tend to be very charming. These individuals may also be a prominent person in their communities. So you're thinking everybody, oh, maybe I'm missing something, maybe I'm wrong, and you continue to give them chances to be a better person, and it ain't happening. So when interacting with these individuals, one-on-one conversations do tend to be one-sided. They'll often be very talkative, but they talk about themselves. When you attempt to talk, they may seem uninterested, and then they start acting busy. And this is a very typical one right here. And I'll have to tell you something. I'm really not a huge fan of Oprah Winfrey, but there is something I think she does is pretty grand scale as a talk show host. And I caught on to that really quick when she became a talk show host. With her, as a talk show host, the emphasis is given on the person she's interviewing. So she pretty much steps outside of that realm. She'll ask triggering questions and that kind of thing. But the one thing I do like about her is the show is not about her, and the show is about the guest, and that's the way it should be. Now let's talk about the covert. Now, these covert, now also very vulnerable, narcissist is characterized by a lack of empathy, entitlement, hypersensitivity, passive aggression behavior, sense of justice, resentment, insecurity, low levels of self-esteem, and higher levels of depression. Contempt is pervasive and prominent in these individuals. In the extreme of this presentation, these individuals tend to exhibit behaviors consistent with a sociopathic person. Now, these individuals frequently engage in projection. Projection is a defense mechanism unconsciously used to regulate anxiety that we may feel about ourselves. An example of what this looks like is when someone is being aggressive and then proceeds to accuse the person they're talking to as being aggressive instead of acknowledging their own behavior. When we cannot tolerate an aspect of ourselves, we have to discard it. This can lead to conflict, distress, and gaslighting. And we're going to talk about that just a little bit later on in this segment. Now, this person is related to being perceived as hostility from others as well as feeling criticized by others. Their interaction with others often feels hostile, and they often interact with others in a hostile attribution bias. This means they experience others as hostile, and because there is the perception that others are being hostile towards them, they'll respond in kind. They'll be hostile right back. What can further contribute to the covert narcissist hostility and contempt for others is the grandiose belief they hold in themselves, which displays in a less obvious way than the grandiose narcissist that was described previously. Now, these individuals may present as though they are misunderstood and or their special abilities are not well understood, which further leads to their feelings of being slighted by others and perceiving others as hostile. Also, with regards to a sense of justice, these covert narcissists feel as though the world and others owe them and may be described as brooding, and they may feel they're due and deserve some retribution. Their resentment is about the perception that others have a better life than they. And as noted in the first installment on narcissism, there's always a question about the impact of early childhood abuse, neglect, and trauma on personality disorders. In all the types of narcissists, this type indicates that this type is more likely to be associated with an abusive childhood. This could be a child that was exposed to chronic neglect and invalidation, and going to have to be exposed to the more hostile motivations, and they become more attuned to combing their environments for hostile threats. Okay, now let's go ahead and talk about the malignant narcissist. Okay, this is probably the most toxic and aversive type of narcissist. So the doctor writes, this form takes the grandiose narcissist and adds more of an explosive personality. Sometimes they drive people to the edge and leave them feeling betrayed, fearful, manipulated, tricked, and even devastated. So the malignant narcissist is often referred to as the dark triad. And this person, the individual, they can be quite charming, yet political, and manipulative, and often lack remorse. They'll just do stuff and not feel bad about it at all. Now, due to their explosive nature, they can truly cause a lot of devastation and damage to others. These individuals who may not bend or break the rules, but they can also abuse their power. They often see other people as disposable and a means to an end. They get through using you, they're gone, and they just dispose of you. Now, leaving a relationship with a malignant narcissist can be very difficult due to the fear of what the narcissist may do. They may threaten to do things if you try to leave first. They want to be the one to do the breakup. Okay, communal. Now, communal narcissists are really engaged in the community, and they post everything online about their pursuits and changing the world. Communal narcissists may feature frequent posts on their social media or personal website showing them interacting with those less fortunate than them and drawing attention to their charitable deeds with hashtags like saving the world. Not everybody, but this is to the narcissist who is that way. They'll use hashtags something like feels good to give back, charity goals, I love everyone, or something like elephants are people too. They sit back, expect validation from their followers. Like, wow, you're amazing. You have the biggest heart ever. Keep saving the world, and you look hot in your bikini, stuff like that. And then bask in the likes and comments about their nature giving. Now, these individuals perceive themselves as altruistic, which is in contrast to the three above types that would perceive themselves as successful. Now, the author of this article makes a point of caution that there are people who can truly give of themselves to others and not be a communal narcissist. I know a lot of super people, I really do, and they're not narcissists. But she stresses that the difference and the importance factor to consider is the motivation behind the altruistic behaviors and actions. Now, furthermore, these individuals may present to the world as others facing, while at home they may be quite the opposite. They can result in a lot of confrontation for loved ones and confusion with their loved ones and other partners, as at home with the other narcissistic traits are on display. In many ways, the communal narcissist derives a sense of self from the idea of being a giver, but maintains little insight into his or her entitlement or lack of empathy in other close relationships. They're one way in the public's eye and then another way at home. Let's go ahead and cut into a commercial break, and we shall return in just a few minutes. Hope this is helping. Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. The Hatter Cafe and Country Inn is nestled in the northeast corner of Alabama the Beautiful in the delightful town of Mentone. We're located on top of scenic Lookout Mountain near Little River and DeSoto State Park and located only 5 minutes from shopping and restaurants. There is also a nearby community walking path and golf course. We welcome everyone through the doors and we are committed to outstanding service for all guests. At the Hatter Cafe and Country Inn, we invite people from all walks of life to come and get away from it all, enjoy the open spaces, treetop views, fresh, clean air, and experience Southern hospitality at its finest. We look forward to hosting you. To reserve a special event, or if you would love a special getaway at the Country Inn, you can call us at 256-634-2018.
Are you ready?
We all wonder what tomorrow will bring, but the future lays itself at the feet of the prepared and surrenders to the will of the persistent. It's not easy, but today shapes you so you can shape tomorrow. With Northeast Alabama Community College, when the future asks if you're ready, you can answer
yes.
Begin your future at Northeast Alabama Community College.
The only place I buy my beef is Lone Tree Ranch in Collinsville, Alabama. Their cattle is born and raised on their ranch, grass and grain fed, and you can feel confident when you serve your family and friends because their beef is all natural and no antibiotics or hormones are added. You can buy whole beef or perhaps go in with family or friends and buy half. Their customer service is number one as they take care of the delivery to their local processor and can deliver to your home for a small added fee. They also offer herd replacement heifers. I always call Lone Tree Ranch in Collinsville, Alabama for my beef specialty recipes and cookouts, and you can too. Food shortages are increasing, so buy local by calling 256-523-6462. That's 256-523-6462.
Donna's Designs offers a line of handmade memorial, wedding, and keepsake jewelry that launched back in 1970. I'm a self-trained jewelry designer, and I will work closely with you to create unique designs you can love and treasure for years to come. Whether that be flowers that were used in a funeral arrangement or stones you found on the beach at a memorable trip, call me at 256-659-4319, and let's think of the possibilities.
At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant. Okay, we're back. My name is Donna, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show. Thank you so much for sending emails. By the way, a number of you sent this email, and you want to know more about a narcissist. And I didn't know there were so many different types of narcissists. I know a good narcissist. Yeah, I know it sounds weird, but I know a really good narcissist. As sweet as she can be, but I think when she was growing up, her mother passed away at a very young age. Dad married somebody really quick. And I don't think she got the attention she needed at home. It went on the stepkids. But anyway, she's just a super person. She's just a little narcissist. She just needs to be tweaked a little bit. Okay, now there's another one called the neglectful narcissist. They do not engage with anyone unless they want something from them. People are seen as conveniences for them and not as individuals to have genuine relationships and connections with. Then there's the benign narcissist. Now, the benign narcissists often exhibit a lack of empathy, entitlement. However, others experience their lack of empathy as being clueless. They don't even know they're doing anything to you. Their entitlement is being clumsy and almost being childlike. These are the individuals that only talk about themselves or work to make your story or what you're saying about them. They have a superficial immaturity and often resemble kids who are preoccupied with caring what others think about them. Can be very obsessive following social media and likes, and their thoughtfulness when they speak. And others are often dismissing their behaviors as someone who does not have a filter. I've heard people, I don't think that person has a filter. Relationship with these individuals may not be fulfilling and may be described as shallow and immature. In comparison to these types of narcissists, these individuals do not cause as much damage or destruction. In many ways, they're very harmless, kind of like my friend I was telling you about. Sweet as she can be, and I love hanging out with her. But I just think she just didn't get the attention she needed when she was growing up. All right, now here's one called The Entitled. Okay, so the author of this article describes that entitlement is being seen everywhere today, which underscores that entitlement is taught. It's not a trait we're born with, like being an introvert or an extrovert. Now, entitlement is visible in the behaviors of others, and it is the belief that we deserve special treatment without cause or reason, even at the expense of another person. We're seeing a lot of that these days. We can all think of examples of entitlement. Now, the impatient person at the store who feels they do not need to wait in line, or the person who removes a reserved sign in a blocked off area at an event and sits in a restricted area anyway. They don't believe in rules, and they believe that they're the rule setter. Entitlement is taught through modeling and reinforcement by parents who do not correct their children when they act entitled, or they do not teach their children how to regulate their own emotions, and they do not get what they want when they want it. Another example is how entitlement is fostered and can be seen through the instillment of the idea that everyone receives a trophy, regardless of their team winning. They can create the false understanding within a child that a special treatment, celebration, and recognition will always be extended to them. Now, as these children age, these are sometimes the students in schools who ask why they did not receive an A in a course despite not completing work or passing exams. They may argue that they attended, tried, and thus they're deserving of the A. As noted in the first installment, when children do not learn how to temper their wants or do not learn how to regulate and tolerate disappointment, they will be unable to tolerate situations in which they're being told no. And no is not recognized, promoted, or provided with constructive criticism. Now, the author also describes that entitlement may express itself as self-righteous. This involves the convenient use of morality where rules do not apply to them, and their view of the world is correct. Now, let's talk about this one. And this is the last one. So this is the generational or the cultural narcissist. Now, this type of narcissist is one of the most difficult to describe. Even in the consideration of being a form of narcissism, the author often cautions that she is not completely convinced that narcissism would be the accurate here due to the universality of histories. In general, these are narcissists whose behaviors are reinforced by culture. Sometimes I think Facebook is the worst thing that ever happened. Everybody does a selfie every now and then. I mean, everybody does. But then there's people you see on there like this consistent thing, in which she entitles is being a narcissist. Now, we can understand it because we know a particular person's or the narcissist family history, where they came from and where they lived. This type of narcissist is reinforced throughout history through intergenerational traumas and other patterns of behaviors. They're also described that these patterns are narcissistic behaviors, and they're observed in cultures and societies characterized by someone who wants to be an authority. They're the patriarch of the family. Major differences in power, massive divides between the haves and the have-nots. In cultures with a variety of pervasive isms, such as racism, colonialism, and the list goes on. Insecurity is often pervasive, in these societies, especially among those with power. They will act in ways to ensure their power. You ain't taking it from me. You'll hear that type person. And it can be in your own little community. I know we're in a small community, but I see that quite often here. In this way, the narcissism becomes an adaptive trait, both for those in power and those oppressed. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're rich or poor. Anybody can have this. So the entitlement now develops as a function of money and social status. These behaviors and ways of functioning in the community, in turn, do not support the development of empathy and even emotional depth in relationships. This can serve to dehumanize others and treat them as indispensable and a means to an end, and reinforces an earlier point about entitlement being taught rather than an innate trait. You see this happening a lot in politicians, and it's on all sides, all spectrums, and it's not one more than the other, because sometimes you'll see somebody, they're out there, they're campaigning, and you're just the reason they do everything. And when they get in the office, you never hear from them again. They won't return calls, that kind of thing. Not everybody, but a majority of them are this way. Now, we have a tendency here to excuse these behaviors when we express that we understand why someone behaves a certain way, given to their histories. Unlike the other types of narcissists described above, this type, if we even determine it to be one, would exist in overlap with the other types and not stand alone. Now, in the next and the last installment, we'll be looking at what a relationship with a narcissist is like, the stages of how these relationships develop, and common behaviors exhibited in these relationships. Additionally, the next time we talk about narcissists, we'll explore what a trauma bond is, and that's a new term for me, and how to identify them and how to break them. And this is a good read. Now, Dr. Prisco strives to provide a compassionate and empathetic therapeutic relationship that allows for feeling safe enough to explore and to make sense altogether what may bring someone to therapy. Sometimes people don't study this because they don't want to know. I definitely want to know why someone reacts that way. What I've learned also is if someone's a narcissist, you can't change them. It has to be something that they want to do. I stay as far away from them as I possibly can, and that's actually the best thing to do. Thank you so much for watching Donna's Edge. My name is Donna, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show. You can find us on television, channel 182 on Charter Communications, and Abundance Television found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Again, thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for the emails. Any suggestions? If you'd like me to do a little research for you, I'm tickled to do it. Send an email. You're the reason I have this show. Send an email to Donna@donnasedge.com. Thank you for watching.